Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Profitable Entrepreneur Lessons from the Best. And today I have got one of the most incredible and dynamic humans that I've had the pleasure to meet in the past year, Jeff
Oh,
Koziatek. And okay, did I pronounce it right?
yeah. Yeah, that
Aw-
sounds good.
Awesome.
Was it?
So, the purpose of this show is really to talk to entrepreneurs just like you, just like us, and learn from people from different backgrounds, different journeys, what their challenges were, what their successes have been, and how they have navigated that journey. So, welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. And if we were talking about learning from mistakes, I made a lot of mistakes. So, well, this could be a long episode.
Hey, you're the expert, the mistakes expert, right?
Right. Well, yeah, we're gonna go out. We're gonna fail often and quick, so we can learn those lessons fast and get
Yeah,
some traction. So
love it.
let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I like to just kind of start with your origin stories. Tell us about you and how you got to where you are today, which is, very well known keynote speaker, coach, friend, mentor, guru, and all things values. And so start
Did
from
you
the beginning and get us there.
did you just say guru?
I did.
That's a big word. Let's let's not go that
Okay.
far. Holy cow.
He's also very humble.
Man, oh, so there I was. I was poor. My parents said, "Find something you love to do and make that your job." I
Mhm,
loved art and people, so they were all in. They were the crazy parents that said, "Yes, you wanna be an actor? Go be an actor. We'll totally support that."
mhm,
I also got an unintended message, not necessarily from them, but from everybody that I was what I did, that my performance defined who I was. And
mhm,
it seemed like if I wasn't performing well in school or in sports or making a piece of art, that people didn't really want to pay attention to me. So
mhm.
I quickly became a massive workaholic, defined myself by my performance, and worked nonstop. And then
Mhm.
I fell into entrepreneurship because Sandy, I was gonna be an actor. I was gonna act and make art and, impact lives that way as a film actor in LA. However, I found myself in the Midwest and I was not getting booked as much as I would like. So I realized that I had to make my own work if I was gonna work. So
Mhm.
that's when the entrepreneur stuff started to happen. So I created an entertainment company. I started writing shows. I started producing videos. Next thing you know, actor Jeff is producer, writer, director Jeff. And then I'm owning my own business. And then because work is me, I am what I do, I
Mhm.
could not say no to stuff. So people would start calling saying, "Hey, do you know anybody that could do this? I can't book you for a show doing a comedy juggling show over here. Do you know any magicians? Do you know any, balloon twisters?" I'm like, "Oh, sure." So next thing you know, I've got a booking agency. And, and then they're like, "Hey, Jeff, not only do you know all of these entertainers and stuff, but can you help us out with catering? And what do you think about lights and sound? And can you help us book a band?" So next thing you know, I have an event management company.
Wow.
And we're doing full service event management. And then I've got people calling me to produce videos to promote their businesses. So we're doing promotional videos, we're doing instructional industrial videos. So now I'm video production company, I'm managing national touring acts, I've got an event management company, we're doing the booking agency bit. I'm still performing, I'm still doing the acting, and it was a lot, but I fell into that. It wasn't something that I chose, and it
Mhm.
was all from this perspective of I have to do more to prove to everybody that I'm worth their time. It
Mhm.
was not a sustainable way to start a business.
Yeah.
And and I did that with my business partner who was also a performer. We got together because we were 2 actors that hung out.
Now, is this your current business partner, the one that I'm aware of that you're talking about? Was it before?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay. Okay.
this was back in the early 2000s,
Okay.
and it didn't well, we started in the late 1900s, but it
We're old.
yeah, but we just fell into business doing it together, so we were learning all the lessons the hard way. Neither one of us went to business school, neither one of us had a business coach. We didn't really know where we were going. We were so busy saying yes to everything. It was like playing whack-a-mole. So we got
Yes.
very busy very fast and we had no direction. And we were making a lot of mistakes. So we had a lot of turnover with talent. We yeah, yeah, and we were bleeding cash. We spent a lot of money learning lessons that we could have spent a lot less. And the whole adage of you spend 20% of your time, on 80% of your income and 80% of your time on the other 20%, that was definitely us. And
Mhm.
eventually, I'm monologuing, but
No, you're
that's
good. This is the story of many entrepreneurs. I mean, so I'm sure a lot of people resonate with exactly what you're saying.
well, all right then. I'll continue my villain monologue.
Yeah, it's no, it's great. Look, I'll just even I'll reinforce what you have said so far. I mean, that's my journey too, in a weird way. I was working as a senior engineer at Lockheed Martin, built a wedding site because I knew how to code websites back in the mid 90s when nobody did, and
Mhm.
decided to make a business of it. And then people said, well, I would like to advertise on your site, but I don't have a website. Oh, well, I can build you one. And then so
Yep.
we rise to, the level of what people ask us to do. And then so all of a sudden we have this weird business that's around us. We're
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
adapt. So
And
yeah, I
that's where I was, and it was not working. It wasn't working for me on a psychological level. Um, there was something that just felt off, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. So I ended up closing that business down. I gave all of our clients to my old business partner, and I went out on my own.
Mhm,
And I really doubled down on myself as a solo performer, and I started my own video production company, and then I
mhm.
started my own photography company, and I
Wow.
continued to work in casting for music videos and commercials and feature films and doing all of that. Um, and for 4 years, I was managing these 3 different businesses, and none of them could grow beyond where they were because there was only 24 hours in the day.
Mhm.
There was a finite amount of my available resources, and I was maxed out, so everybody said, "Jeff, you should focus, pick 1." I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know how to do that." Because of those 2 guiding principles I'd picked up as a kid. Find something you love to do and make that your job, and you are what you do. Your
Mhm.
performance defines who you are. So, I was doing everything that I loved, so I could not say no to anything.
Yeah.
And then I had a conversation with a coach, and he
Mhm.
said, "I can help you in an hour." To which I challenged him for like 15 minutes. We kept going back and forth. I'm like, "There's no way you can help me in an hour. I've been working on this for 4 years, 4 years." And finally he goes, "Okay, how about 2 hours?" Like, "Oh, well that makes that makes
Of
more
course.
sense." So we get together and he does exactly what he says. He helps me out. He gives me a new filter. I can say no to things finally, and I
Mm,
can say yes to things that make sense. And I really doubled down on the performing and what that did for people, offering a safe space for people to drop the mask, to stop pretending and have a genuine laugh next to a total stranger.
yeah.
Like that kind of comfortability and confidence with who they are as a person.
Mhm.
And I love that, but it didn't feel like enough because it was, a 45-minute show. So how do we help people experience that for more than just 30 minutes, even if they allow themselves to go that far. So I
Yeah.
started speaking, created my keynote speaking business, and then I got certified to do coaching so that I could actually walk people through this change to help them to create that sustainable change so that they could stay in that space long after we stop working together.
Mhm.
So having gone down the road of being overwhelmed and stressed out and the constant second guessing and doubting what I was doing, the cycles of burnout, because that got really intense.
Mhm.
And then constantly navigating those transitions and feeling, untethered, just floating around, not in control through a change, having gone through all of that and then having led my business and having produced films where the culture was not, we'll just say not healthy.
Mm.
um, and then turning around and creating cultures that are healthy and creating films that do go on to win awards and succeed, not only in terms of outcome, right, in the performance in the presentation of the film, but also on the production side. So
Mhm.
because of all of that, I love being able to come around and help people do more of what they want, less of what they don't, and really love the results that they get. It's not theoretical for me. It's real.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, I've got two questions around what you just talked about. The first one is the coach that you sat with for 2 hours. How did he reframe that for you that suddenly gave you the power or confidence or whatever it was to focus and learn to say no? Because I know a lot of people have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It is not easy. Uh, I'm gonna boil it down to worth.
Mm.
For me, I did not see any worth in myself as a human being. The only thing that made me worthy as a person was what I could do. It was something external. And sitting down with my coach, he helped me shift that from looking for worth out here to seeing worth and significance internally. And by
Mhm.
making that subtle shift, if it's out here, that automatically means that I don't have enough, that I'm coming up short and I have to go get it. And then once
Mhm.
I get it, I have to protect it at all costs. And when I'm doing that, I'm like, well, did I get enough? The only way I know that is if I'm walking around with a judgment stick comparing myself to everybody else. So it makes me really judgy, less generous, and I miss the moments. Oh my
Mm.
gosh, we should talk about the first pitch at the Cardinals game. But I missed a lot of moments in my life because I was constantly thinking about the next thing, the
Oh.
next to do. And when he said, you know, that my worth was internal, that it was an intrinsic thing. If it's inside, it can't change because it's not tied to my performance. It's not tied to what I own or who I know. It's not even tied to my relationships with other people as a father or son or friend or, boss or employee. It's
Mhm.
not tied to any of that.
Mhm.
So it doesn't change. And if it doesn't change and it's always full all the time, well, wait a minute. Now I can say no and I'm not less.
Mm.
Now I don't have to do everything. Now I can sit back and say, all right, well, do I want to do that? And then
Mhm.
how do we answer that question? It was the values.
Mhm.
My coach is Jeff Arthur with the values conversation. No surprise, huge into values.
Mhm.
And so to be able to stand on that cornerstone of worth and then make decisions based on what I valued personally, professionally, relationally. Now I had a filter and I could say, okay, does my work as a videographer and a photographer and a stilt walker and a juggler, like what of this really fits into my value system and who I am as a human being?
Mhm.
And then I could say, well, you know, these are nice hobbies that write checks. This really aligns. Let's let's dig into that and let's make sure that my behavior and the choices that I make align with my values.
Love that. So I do want to talk about the first pitch of the Cardinals game. before I have you go into that and share that story,
Yeah.
um, how for the audience, how would you define the work you do now? So what are you? What do you do?
Wait, I'm sorry. How would I define what?
The work that you do now. So you talked about movies, producing movies, you talked about the whole journey. And so if
Yeah.
someone wanted to look you up right now and
Mhm.
work with you, what exactly are you doing now? What have you settled into and what's your work?
Well, the short answer to that question is I help people do more of what they want, less of what they don't, and love their results. I run into a lot of people that say, I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm not. I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. And I don't know why I keep doing this. Well, I help them uncover the root of that so they have a choice and they can choose to do something about the root to get different results or not. So if people are done guessing, if they're done rolling the dice and hoping for the best, if they are ready to have confidence before the decision is made that it is the right decision, before the results come in, then I help. And I do that with 3 services. So I have an academy, I've got my keynotes, and then I have my coaching. So people would come to me for coaching as an individual if they want help overcoming feelings of overload or stress or doubt, or they're tired of going through cycles of burnout, or they want to thrive through a transition. And company would come to me and say, "Hey, Jeff, we want your help to improve our culture, to create a culture of champions that communicate well, collaborate effectively, can think critically and creatively, and so that we've got this culture that people want to be a part of, that we're attracting top talent, that our turnover is going down, that people are genuinely happy." I mean, we can talk about all the studies out there that say that companies with a culture of happiness deliver profits that are always at the top of the stock market. But
Mhm,
that's a whole other conversation. So
mhm,
that's what I do there, and also with companies that are going through M&A. If they're looking to improve their culture for sale, if they just bought something and then looked under the hood and went, "Oh my gosh, it looked so great out here, but we need to do something about the culture." So I come in and do that. Or if they are taking two cultures and merging them together, how do we do that in an intentional way and not just throw them into Thunderdome and say, fight it out, we'll see whoever comes out on top.
mhm,
So that's what I do with the coaching. People bring me in as a keynote to inspire and encourage their people from the stage. And I usually speak on 6 different topics there. And then the academy. The academy is something that I run with Dallas Amsden. He and I teach communication skill set and mindset, how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to other people. And that's a monthly subscription service. So it's something that we can do for individuals, something we can do at a group rate for organizations, and then we can also offer an exclusive academy just within an organization that says, "Hey, we like this, but we want you to tailor it specifically to our values and our goals." So that's what I do over at
mhm.
coreauthenticity.com.
Well, I just wanted to bring some clarity to exactly what you're doing today. For a lot of reasons, we're going to go into some conversations around business challenges and entrepreneur challenges, and so I wanted to have some
Yeah.
context. The fact that you're really running it's core authenticity, but it's 3 different major deliverables, and there's a lot to that. So before we dive into the questions around business operations and getting profitable with your company. Talk to us about the story that you wanted to bring up with the Cardinals game.
I loved baseball as a kid. I played it all the time. I had dreams of being a professional baseball player. I was a pitcher, Sandy, and I could throw a fastball. The fastball was really good, but the curveball I could throw right at your head, and it would curve right back over the heart of the plate
Wow,
every time.
that's
Every
impressive.
time. Oh my gosh, it was so awesome. You'd throw that, and you'd watch kids just bail out of the batter's box. I mean, it was great. And then sometimes we would hit people just to keep them honest. I don't recommend that today, but that's what we did. I loved baseball. Ate, slept, breathed baseball. Dreamed of being a baseball player. Then one day, my friend at the wise old age of 14, said, Jeff, we will never make it. We're never going to play in the majors. And because he was 14 years old and so wise, so knowledgeable, and so prophetic, I said, okay, well, he must be right. And I let go of my dream. I let go of pursuing my dream. But inside, I was so frustrated. I did not like myself for letting that go. And I was full of all this regret and resentment and anger. And I thought, someday, someday I will make a film all about baseball. I'll cast myself as a pitcher. I'll put myself on the mound in the ninth inning with 2 outs, the game on the line, and people will cheer because it'll be in the script. It will have 40,000 screaming fans chanting my name because it will be in the script. And I will throw 3 perfect pitches to close out the ninth to win it for my team because of video editing. And it will be awesome. I will I will make my childhood dream a reality. And then my client back in the late 2000s called me up and said, "Hey, Jeff, we want you to throw out the first pitch at a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game to Albert Pujols, who was a big hometown hero at the time."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." And they said, "The only catch is you have to do it as the character that you created for us," because I was managing national touring acts. It's like, you have to put on the wizard costume. That's fine. I can throw out the first pitch as a wizard, no problem. And so I'm like, this is great. We get there that day, and then the CEO is like, actually, I'm going to take Albert. You can throw out to Robinson. Like, that's fine. I don't know who Robinson is, but it's going to be great. I'm going to be on the pit. On it's going to happen. It's going to be awesome. And so I get out there, and Sandy, I can tell you, it looks like I had a good time because I'm smiling in the photos, but I can't remember it. I don't I don't remember what it was like to be on the mound. I don't remember what I threw. I don't remember much about that particular event because at that time in my life, I was still looking for my worth outside of myself in my performance. And because of that, my mind was not present. My mind was always in the future. And even though I was there fulfilling a version of my childhood dream, I was thinking about the next project, the next to do item, and I missed it. And so
Wow.
when I get a chance to work with employers, business owners, entrepreneurs, and help them to catch the moments of their life so they don't have to pay that price, so that
Mhm.
they can be present, whether they're at work or whether they're at home with their spouse or with their kids or with the people that they really care about, like that means a lot to me.
Mm. Wow, that's a really powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. I mean, it's sad,
Thanks.
but it's still, I love the story, and there's a lesson there for all of us. Let's dive in a little bit into the business side. So you got, 3 revenue driving mechanisms, so to speak. So you've got your
Mhm.
coaching, you've got your keynote speaking, and you have your academy.
Yes.
So, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I've seen over the years, including myself, that we struggle with is, how do you approach pricing your services? That is a big question, and most of us undervalue our time and our
Mhm.
expertise. What's your approach on that?
On pricing services, I get this question a lot from other keynote speakers coming up and other coaches. And we used to get it a lot as a performer. Like, hey, what are you charging for this? What are you charging for that?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I feel like we have to charge something that we're comfortable with. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, if
Mhm.
I'm showing up standing on my cornerstone of intrinsic worth, then I don't have to prove myself to you or to anybody else by matching whatever you're charging. I won't feel like I'm losing out. Oh my gosh, I only charged, $10,000 for that. And so did the same thing and she got 15,000. I totally missed it because it's all about my performance and my income.
Mhm.
I feel like if we're standing on our intrinsic worth cornerstone, I can show up and say, you know what, here's the price. It's $30,000.
Mhm.
And that's the value I'm bringing. And to be honest with you, if you work with me, you're going to get way more than that. But that's what I'm going to charge you.
Mhm.
And if somebody comes back and says, well, we can't do that, we only have this much or whatever. Like, well, then I've got a choice to make, and either I can, if I really want to work with that person, um, I can offer up some value trades, or I can say no,
Mhm.
and I can say no
Right.
because I'm more than my performance, and now I have that ability. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, I I don't really look at the. I agree with you. We often don't charge what we're worth. And along with that, I think there's a tendency to look at everybody else and think we have to match their prices. And I,
Mhm.
I would rather not play that game. Find a number that I need to meet my lifestyle and
Mhm.
that I feel comfortable with, and I go with that. And a lot of that comes from my values and my worth.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree with, how you outlined that. I recall back when I first started my company, I went to a conference and it was for web developers, and I was charging at the time $25 a month for website hosting, but you could get it for I think $2.95 at GoDaddy. And so this is
Mm,
back in 1999. So GoDaddy was in its infancy, and the CEO of this tech company, I was talking to him about this. He's like, I don't understand how you can charge that. Nobody's going to pay that. I'm like, well, I've got 400 people that are. I mean, and I
right,
didn't back
right.
down from that. And I put that story in my book. And now we, charge as high as $95 a month with services. But,
What?
you know, no, seriously, but people say, well, why shouldn't I just go over here and do that? Well, it's because we do this. And if this isn't for you, that's okay. You should go over there then. It's okay. So it really
Yeah.
took me years, honestly, for the pricing structure that I have to settle in on it and not compare, like you said. And it took me a coach to talk me through actually having the courage to raise my prices when
Well,
we're way underpriced in the market.
so you were able to raise your rates and charge what you charge and feel comfortable about it because you had a coach, that outside perspective?
I mean, that was part of it. So the coach talked me through it. The coach showed, and to your point, the coach, made me see the value in what I brought to the table. And if I believed it was worth that, then I should feel comfortable charging that. And then it's up to the person on the other side to see, if they value it or not. And if they don't, then I'm not for them. And that's perfectly okay. And I
Yeah.
should be comfortable with that. And that's a hard place to get to, though,
Oh my
because
gosh. Yeah. Well, it makes me think of when I was in the photography business. I would tell them, "Here's the rate," and they'd be like, "What? It's that much? You're only taking a few. You're just snapping. Like, how hard is your finger working
Mhm.
to take the photos?" And we're only there for like an hour and you're only giving me these images. How can you charge so much? I'm like, well, do we want to go into all the education? We want to go into all the practice. We want to go into all the investment on composition and equipment and like there's all of this. It's the iceberg, right? Underneath the water that nobody else sees. Like you're paying and you think that you're just paying for this, but you're paying for the whole enchilada.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know when we don't trust when we don't trust the value that we're bringing our clients, it is hard to confidently charge appropriate value. And then it can be easy to just fixate on the top part of the iceberg and miss all of this. So we don't see that. And then we often get focused on ourselves and we stop looking at the impact that we're causing, that we're having on our client,
Mhm.
either the person or their whole company. And if we start looking at the impact on them, if we stop focusing on ourselves, we start looking at the service part and the results, I think it's a whole lot easier to say, yes, this is worth what I'm charging. And if we're going to be honest, it's probably worth a whole lot more.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to me, just as part of this conversation, if you have a team of a small business owner, I found over the years that if you put a prospective client in front of me versus a team member to close a deal, I can close the deal so much easier and faster than a team member can, simply from the perspective that I believe and am confident in the value and the service and what it is that we're offering, whereas the team member doesn't have that internal value for the services. So I found that spending a lot of time coaching and teaching team members on it makes the team more powerful from a sales perspective. So I'm
Yeah.
talking early on, I was learning that, and now I have a very powerful team. I can put any one of my team members in front of a prospective client, and I'm confident that they would have nearly or equal to the close rate that I have with clients. So,
So how did you train them up to do that?
well, it's just a matter of educating from this perspective to me of why it matters what we do and how we do it differently. And so it's not just here's what we do, the list of stuff, it's
Mhm.
why we do it this way. And when you believe that why and the importance of it with conviction, it comes across confidently. And
Yeah.
then when you can back it up with, results, then it's an easy deal. But I think as, small business owners, a lot of times we don't take the time to educate our team on that.
Mhm.
And, the team that doesn't buy into that is not necessarily a great fit for your company then, right? So, I think we've had this conversation before. Like I will hire for fit over expertise 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Mhm. Yeah,
I
because I
I
can
I
teach the expertise, but you it can't teach the fit very well.
I will drink that Kool-Aid all day. Like, for example, I used to produce a show for Delta Dental in Missouri teaching kids how to take care of their teeth. We had the Tooth Wizard and Plaque Man locked in an epic battle for oral health care. And to run the show, we started hiring other actors because we had so many performances on the books. And we went looking for other actors to fill the roles, which makes sense. I mean, it's a theatrical show, so you hire actors to act. The problem was the actors that we were hiring looked at it as children's theater, as a stepping stone to something else. It was just a layover. It was not something that they were really excited about. And so they were not bringing the same amount of energy and enthusiasm to the table that my business partner and I were, right? So this was a problem. This
Yeah.
was a problem. And what I realized is that we needed to look for the right fit, as you said, people that shared our value of care for the client and care for the audience. And so
Mhm.
I started thinking maybe we should go looking for elementary school teachers just coming out of college, people that already loved kids, already wanted to make a difference, and then we could teach them all of the acting skill set along the way. But as long
Mm.
as they had that love for the kids, that desire to make an impact and give their best effort, then, like you said, we could train the expertise.
Right. Yeah.
That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
It makes all the difference. It really does. So I've got a team member, Karen, who's my director of creative services. And as I was kind of letting go of doing all the hiring myself, there was a period of time, a year and a half, almost 2 years maybe, where she sat in on all the interviews, and then ultimately she does the hiring. And one
Mhm.
of the things that I said to her back then was, if you have someone sitting across the table from you and you ask them why they want this job, and they say, because I love helping small business owners succeed, the interview's over, you're just going to hire them because that's really what we do. Never mind the web, the SEO, all the stuff. Like the person who has the heart for helping entrepreneurs succeed is the person I want on my team. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's so good.
So,
Is it the same thing excuse me, in photography? I would tell people, it does not matter what kind of gear the photographer has or what their portfolio is. If you don't have a good fit with the photographer, you're not going to be comfortable on camera
mm,
and you're going to end up with a photo that you don't like,
yeah.
no matter what they've done in the past. But if you find a photographer that you have a great fit with, but their gear is not as fancy and they don't have as flashy portfolio, if you fit, you're going to get an amazing photo. You're going to love it. It's
Yeah.
all about fit.
Yeah.
Heck, we could
I
talk about fit all day.
Yeah, so, like, I just wanna kind of pile on to drive home this point. So I have another, woman on my team who's just incredible. Her name's Kate, but she also has a photography business, and she's a third generation photographer. So she learned from her grandma, and when she tells the story, her grandma always told her that, the secret to great photography is watching for the twinkle in the eye. I'll never forget when she said that, and I think that reinforces what you just said, because if you aren't a fit with the photographer you hire, that twinkle's not gonna be there. So,
No.
yeah, and
Oh,
that's what
that's
makes
good.
all the difference. Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful story, so that is a good time to share it.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. So since we were talking about pricing, it's kind of the next logical conversation to kind of look at, profit. And let's start with, what does profit mean to you? Like, is that, it's a dirty word sometimes to entrepreneurs. Like, they want it, but they don't get it. They don't know how to get it. They struggle with it. So what is it to you?
What does profit mean to me?
Yeah.
I've eh,
Mhm.
that's what it means. Eh.
Okay. Yeah.
My focus is on providing service.
Hmm.
And I feel like as long as I'm providing service, then I will be compensated from wherever and whenever I'm supposed to. I know
Yeah.
that sounds like really might sound like a pie in the sky attitude. And you're like, well, how the heck can you run a business like that? How can you meet your bills? And, how do you take care of your kids and make sure that they're fed and take care of all the people that depend on you?
Hmm.
Uh, and that makes sense. I could see that. And yet whenever I've focused on profit, then I've turned all the people that work for me from people into objects that I had to manipulate to get a certain end result.
Hmm.
Or I would turn them into obstacles that I had to overcome to get the end result that I wanted.
Hmm.
For me, profit is a natural outcome or byproduct of serving somebody else
Hmm.
with my services or products.
Hmm.
So it's an afterthought.
Okay. Well, I love that answer. And so the show's called The Profitable Entrepreneur, which is a mouthful.
Hmm.
Lessons from the best. And it's fascinating to me because, as I've gone through, and we're early on in the show, so you're my fourth interview, and the answer is different from
Yay.
everybody. And as entrepreneurs and small business owners, a lot of times we struggle with that. So what I hear from you though is, you do what you love and you charge accordingly, and you work with clients who are a great fit for you. And
Yes.
so the profit just comes naturally, and you're happy with the level that you achieve. True?
True.
Okay.
I should add that it wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I started off with my initial entertainment company with my old business partner, we were very focused on profit. We're like, "Ooh, this is nice. Let's get more of that." And so the focus was all on the profit, and it was about generating profit. The problem that we ran into was because our focus was on the money, it was not so much focused on delivering a quality product, it was not so much delivering um, what our clients wanted. It was like, well, hey, maybe we can upsell them and we can make some more profit. Or where can we skimp on our employees so that we can keep more of that profit? Or where can we, save a buck here, maybe so that we make more profit instead of sending the computers out to be fixed? We'll fix the computers in house. So we ended up it ended up costing us a lot more because our time was much more valuable spent over here not fixing computers, right?
This
And
is true.
so by being focused on the profit, we ended up spending 80% of our time making 20% of the profit.
Mm,
When I'm
fantastic.
find that I'm not focused on the profit, if I'm just focused on how do I best serve you, then that
Mhm,
opens up so much stuff. And you know, faith is a big part of who I am and what drives me. And I feel like I've always I feel like this because it's true. I've
mhm,
always had enough to pay the bills.
mm,
So,
mhm,
and if there wasn't enough to pay the bills, there was a way to make it happen.
mm,
So, yeah, that's how I show up for that.
yeah. Yeah, it's such an interesting perspective. You said when you were just talking, you said so many things in alignment with what some of the other guests said. You just said it in a very different way. And I love that because we all come to the table with different goals, different objectives for our lives and for our businesses. And the bottom line is we're none of us are in business to lose money or to break even, right?
Right.
I mean, we're really not. We're in business so that we can make a living at the lowest level. That's our goal, and be happy with what we're doing. And so
Yeah.
I love how you framed that for yourself and for, I'm sure, a really good percentage of the people who are going to see the show. So thank you for that. Um,
Thank you.
so I want to move into another area of business and marketing. Well, how are you and how do you promote your services right now? And what are your thoughts around that? And full disclosure, everybody knows this is I own a marketing company, so I'm not looking for any answers here. I just want to know what you do, what you and your partner do. What are you guys doing, and that might help other small business owners with your approach?
Yeah. Well, then, in full disclosure, I'll also let the audience know that you and I have talked outside of this about doing some possible marketing stuff together. So I'm going to share with you what I did for 25 years and what I've done over the last 2 years, 3 years, and what
Mhm.
I'm going to do in the future. How about that?
Perfect. Perfect. Cover
So
all stages.
right?
I
So
love it.
as an entertainer, my marketing was myself, and I didn't realize it at the time. But I would show up, I would do the best job I could, give the best performance I could, and then I would pass out bookmarks called Jeff marks, not bookmarks,
I
Jeff
love
marks. You get a Jeff mark, it's got my website on it, and then I would go home and I would wait for the phone to ring. It would drive people to a website, and that was my marketing. Bookmarks, the website, and the service.
Uh-huh.
And that worked. I mean, I had 700 plus requests every year. I was taking 350 of them, which was too much, but that's a whole other episode conversation. Um, but that's how I marketed for almost 2 decades.
Mhm,
When COVID happened and I was no longer able to be in front of people at all, and this is also years after I realized I do not want to work 350 shows a year and do videos and do photography. I want to do a lot less, like maybe 12 keynotes a year. And let's just do a handful of coaching clients and just a small handful of corporate clients. You know, let's get really intentional about what the business looks like. How do we get the word out if I'm not going to be out there 350 times? So I got really into LinkedIn. So I do
mhm,
LinkedIn posts pretty regularly every week, 2 or 3 times. And I still have the website, but I don't really leverage my website. It's mostly LinkedIn.
mhm,
And then in 21, I produced a podcast called the Breakthrough Moments Podcast. I did that as another way to market when I couldn't get out.
mhm,
That's currently on hiatus before I come out with season two.
mhm,
And in addition to that marketing, I go to a few networking events, but then the rest of it is still the old school stuff of doing a keynote and driving people to a website for more. Now, I've been talking to this amazing marketing person who is made some really wise recommendations to create some other things that I can do with online courses and a few other things where I can help share my knowledge, my experience with my potential clients in a way that makes it uh, easy for them to reach, to get a hold of, and also frees me up so that I can continue to spend time with my wife, who I love very much, and my kids.
Mm,
So yeah, I'm still learning in the marketing area
yeah.
and expanding.
Well, I love that you're considering the online courses that I one of my coaches and well and mentor. So Mike McCallowitz, and then I'm in Donald Miller's founders group. Both of them, if you don't have something on your website that people can purchase like right then, you're missing out on a lot of revenue. And so I learned that from the masters. So credit to them for that recommendation that I gave you.
Nice. Well,
Yes.
hey, if you want something to buy right away on a website, you should go to coreauthenticity.com and pick up your copy of Blueprint for Value:
Mm,
52 Habits to Discover and Strengthen Your Personal Worth. Available as ebook or paperback.
I love it. I love it. That's brilliant. Okay, so let's move into um, like customer journeys and customer focus. How do you handle that in your business? Because you have a lot of one-on-one contact with your customers.
I
And it's
do.
important, a lot of small business owners just to frame it, especially initially early in business, go for the sale. And as soon as they get the sale, then they have to execute on it. But the sale's the thing, and they don't really think about the relationships and the power that they can leverage over time by building that. So, talk to us about your approach to your customers and your customers in general.
Well, I would be totally open for any kind of feedback you have on this, because this is not something where I can look back and say, hey, I'm doing it really well.
Mhm.
I am still in the muck. If I'm going to be totally honest with you and the entire world, whoever's watching our video, my strength is my ability to be present in the moment. I'm all in right here, right now. And unfortunately, along with that, I am definitely not thinking about anything else. So if it's not right in front of me, it is very easy for me to lose sight of something.
Mhm.
My my customer journey, as long as I'm talking to people, I think it is strong, and I think I am also missing a lot of opportunities to make it stronger and to better serve my clients with systems that would help me stay on top of things and to
Mhm.
make sure that I am staying in contact.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm growing, and I'm currently in the middle of developing,
Yeah.
because for well, since my business has started, it's all me doing it one to one, making the phone calls and doing my best not to forget.
Yeah. And that's not uncommon. I mean, we know that, right? It's absolutely not uncommon.
Yeah.
So give yourself grace on that. And the fact that you're working on it is important. And we've had conversations around that, and I'm sure we'll continue to. How
It's
about,
not so much that I'm not giving myself grace, it's just
yeah,
it's frustration.
sure.
It's frustration when you see a need and you know exactly what the need is, and you keep pulling levers trying to address the need, trying. I'm going to pull this lever to address the need and it doesn't work, and then you pull this one and it doesn't work. That gets that gets a little frustrating after a while. And I understand that there are some outside circumstances that were at play, and I am also ready to have the systems in place so that I can better serve my clients. I think they're worth it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm worth the peace of mind that I will experience when I know my customer's journey is taken care of from beginning all the way to aftercare.
Yeah. So, just a question. I'm just going to kind of go back a couple sentences ago when you said you're all in, you're present in the moment, and you're really good at that and really focused. And so my question is, do you love that part? Is that like passion for you, being in the moment and, insanely focused on that individual at that time?
Yes.
So my brain goes to how do we create more moments because you love it. And so if there's something you love, you know, but that's another conversation. Uh,
Well, I don't know if this is where we wanna go with this, but I have always enjoyed learning more about people and why they do what they do. When I was becoming an actor as a kid, I took the psychology classes, I took the sociology classes. It was all about observing people, figuring out what makes them tick. Why are they not doing what they want to do? Why are they doing what they want to do? Uh, and so that I could better present that on stage. That was the motivation. Now I can use all that to help you better hit the results that you want. I can take all that psychology and all that information and put it to work.
mhm,
So it's always been there. And and being aware of my feelings and the feelings in others has always been something that's in me. But I learned to perform on stage to prove that I was worth people's time.
mhm,
Right? So instead of asking the questions and listening, being able to come in and quickly connect, 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 connect. Thank you. I'm done. Good night, Detroit. And we're out. And then do the next thing in Chicago. I mean, I was doing 3 to 5 shows a day.
wow,
So it was minimal. There was connection, but not as deep as I like to go.
mhm,
So to be able to set that down and to sit across the table from somebody one to one, whether I'm coaching an organization or coaching individuals, it's all one to one coaching. I do
mhm,
some group coaching, but most of it's the one to one bit. To
yeah,
be able to offer somebody that safe space where they can feel no judgment, they can share whatever they need to share and know that it doesn't go anywhere. It's totally confidential. I'm not going to judge them and that I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm not going to flood them with advice and solutions, but I'm going to empower them and be
mhm,
there so that they can figure it out so that they become self sustaining. Oh my
mhm,
gosh, Sandy,
mhm.
standing ovation from thousands of people feels really good.
Yeah,
However, that
mm,
connecting with people one to one feels so much better.
mhm, yeah,
So, how do I want to create more of that? I want to get some more clients, but not a lot.
mhm,
Because I have a good work-life balancing act going right now. I'm not gonna I already did the 350 shows a year. I'm not going back to that.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny you brought up work-life balance because that is next on my list. So talk to me about
What?
that with you. I know. I know. So, what does that look like for you? I mean, my last guest said he doesn't believe in work-life balance because it all blends together. So what does that look like in your life? How do you
Ooh.
feel about it? What's your belief around it? And just floor is
Well,
yours.
there's a lot of angles to take on this.
Mhm,
Um, when I had my entertainment career, I had no work-life balance. We did buy into one of those timeshare points to force myself to take vacation, and that
uh-huh,
was great. That worked really well because it literally forced me to stop. However, we went on many vacations where I took my work with me. I
mhm,
will always remember the first vacation we took where I deliberately left my phone at home. And and that was hard. And
mhm,
all the people I was working with didn't handle that well either because they were used to having 24/7 access. So when
mhm,
they couldn't have access to me, everybody freaked out. When I came home to crisis.
yeah,
However, the next vacation, I left my phone home again. And so there was a retraining process there to be able to shut that down.
mhm,
But back then, I would say there was no difference that I'm doing what I love. So it's not work. It's not work. I
mhm,
do it all the time. However, I was missing key moments with my family and I was missing key moments like the first pitch at the Cardinals game. So today I stop working at 5, maybe 6. I'm very protective of my nights.
mhm,
Occasionally I will do a networking event, but most of the time, weeknights are for me, and I'm either with my family or I'm with my friends or I'm just doing something for myself. And
Mm,
that's a booked event. In the entertainment days, if I didn't have anything on the calendar, and by anything I mean work, then I would take the job. Now, personal stuff is a booking on my calendar. And so I don't overbook that.
mm,
For over 20 years I worked nights, weekends and holidays.
mm.
When I started to experience my first weekend off, I thought, "What is this?" So now I don't do a lot on the weekends. I like to just chill with my family. I have also started to book 1 day a week off just for me.
Mm,
This was a system that I had in place a few years ago, and then I fell out of it, so I recently brought it back. But on Mondays, it's my Mondays, meaning I don't do meetings. I'm not going to work. I'm just going to do something that fills me back up, that brings me joy, that helps me to stay creative and excited so that
mm,
I can then go all in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So
yeah,
stuff like that.
I love that. So, that full day, like, give us an example of, what kind of stuff do you do if you're not working? And families presumably working or at school or whatever. So, like, what lights you up? What are you doing on that day off?
Sometimes it's photography. We
Mhm.
have the Missouri Botanical Gardens here in St. Louis, and I love going there and just taking photos. I used to take photos to sell, fine art photos for offices and hotels and things like that. Now I'm just doing it for me. That
Mm,
feels so good. So good. There's no demand. So I can take as long as I want. I can do whatever I want. I come back home and I edit the photos and listen to music. It's
mm.
great. Or I get together with somebody for coffee. And guess what, Sandy? Guess what?
You don't talk work.
Well, no, we can talk work.
Oh, okay, okay.
However, I'm not looking at the clock saying, I gotta go.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
We could just hang out.
Yeah.
And if we decide that the coffee's over, then it's over. If we keep going, we keep going.
Hmm.
If we want to go throw axes, we'll go throw axes. We want to go bowling or go to top golf or just go for a hike. I might do some exercise. I'll go for a run or I'll work out in the basement,
Yeah.
or I might go out for a movie. But it's time. I'm gonna think I'm pronouncing this right. Time of fluency.
Mm. Okay.
And so that's really huge. I feel like when I don't have time of fluency, if I don't have that ability, then everything else gets really stressed and my whole life focuses in on work and then I don't deliver my peak performance
Mm.
and then my relationships suffer.
Yeah. It's so true. I think when we're, as entrepreneurs and we're serving others, we're giving and giving and giving, and which is amazing and it feels good. But we have to find a way to fill ourselves back up. And it's different for all of us. That's why I was just
Yeah.
curious what it was for you. Like for me, it's hiking, it's nature, and I'll just go hike and have a different theme for every hike and just notice different things. Like some hikes, I'll look for different types of fungus and mushrooms, and others I'll try to figure out how many different colors of wildflowers that I can find. And so it's just so I'm present, and this if I'm on the same trail, it's a different trail every time because I'm looking for something different every time, and that just fills me to the brim and so far. I just love every second of it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome. Have you heard the concept of the happiness bucket? As long as your happiness bucket is full, all your other buckets in life are good to go. But if your happiness bucket is empty, then all the other buckets drain into the happiness bucket. Like they just drain out. Like it is not a good place to be. So making sure that you've got that so you can that's big. That's
yeah.
big.
It's huge, and I love that metaphor. It's a metaphor, right?
I think so. It is today.
Okay, we'll call it that. Yeah, I mean, because life happens, and we're faced as business owners, we're faced with all different kinds of challenges. Just the full gamut from people to financial to schedule to cancellations of things that were supposed to be at it. Just stuff gets in the way. And I
Yeah.
love just taking time. And one of the things that my coach got me doing was taking small moments during each day too. And I didn't
Mhm.
really understand when she was talking to me about it, but she was like, well, what just lights you up around you? I'm like, oh, my dog, Charlie, my sweet little dog. And she's like,
Mhm.
well, what if I'm like, I just love, giving her rubs. And she's like, well, what if you had it on your calendar to roll around on the floor and give Charlie rubs multiple times a day? How would that make you feel? Even though you're in the middle of the workday, I'm like, that would feel amazing. So I just started doing that. My 5 minutes with
Yes.
Charlie a few times a day, and it just recharges. Step away from the stuff, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so much stuff just came up, but what you just talked about, it kind of matches the concept of stacking pebbles from my book.
Mm,
There is this idea that if we're going to go do something fun, it's got to be really really big, or it just doesn't happen. Or if we're going to consider something a win, it has to be really big. It's got to be a mountaintop experience. Maybe we graduated, or we got married, or we had kids, or we got divorced, or we landed the job, or whatever, but it's something really really big. And then we miss all of the little things along the way, all the little pebbles. And
mhm.
by doing that, we are wasting success. We are wasting all of these opportunities to experience happiness and to experience joy more frequently, because those things are going to happen a lot more frequently than the big mountaintop experiences.
Yeah.
So to learn to say, oh, yeah, well, I can take 5 minutes and go over there and roll around the floor and give them some rubs, and that fills my happiness bucket. And then I come back to work, I'm more refreshed, I'm more excited, I'm
Yeah.
more open to new ideas, I'm thinking more creatively and critically, like that's huge.
Yeah.
Stacking pebbles.
Yeah. It makes all the difference in the world. It really does. And at first, if you're not used to it, you kind of have to force yourself to stop. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'll step away, everything will be fine. But then
Mhm.
once you start doing it just becomes natural. You do it more because it feels so good. So
My
whatever that is
mentor
for you.
my mentor had made a similar comment to me recently, where she was saying, "Yeah, just make sure you get up and just take a break. Walk around your desk or go over here." It wasn't so much find something that lights you up as much as it was just to get out of the moment for a second and to come back in.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah. So we are coming up on an hour, and I like to keep
Oh
these to
my
an hour,
gosh.
although I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I think you're so
Oh,
amazing. I
likewise.
would love to hear, knowing the audience is generally small business owners from, year one to year 25, like me. Um, what What's your best advice? Because an entrepreneur is a unique character. It takes a special personality to be an entrepreneur and to stick with it through all the challenges and stuff. So, what's your best advice for entrepreneurs?
Sandy, we mentioned earlier that in my coaching, I empower my clients and I don't give them advice, right?
Hmm.
And now you're asking me for advice?
I know, but okay. Let me reframe the question then.
No, I got it. I'm just giving you trouble. I would let me answer that by sharing how how I went through COVID. Well, no, this is a really long. We don't have a whole lot of time.
We have
Look,
like there's no hard cutoff. Go ahead. If this is your advice or your story that you want to leave with, take the time you need, because I first of all, I'll just tell the listeners, I guarantee you it's going to be good. So stick around and listen to it.
oh my gosh. Now we got high expectations.
No, this man is amazing. You trust me on this. He's got just gold.
Wow.
Everything that comes out of his mouth is gold.
Oh my. Okay. All right. We need to stop. Let me just go. So
Far too high.
let's bring it. When I used to show up to do juggling shows, they'd be like, "How do you want me to introduce you?" And I'd be like, "I don't care. You can make something up, or you just say, 'Here's Jeff.' Like, we're just gonna have fun. We don't have to like hype anything up. We're just gonna hang out. We're
Yeah.
just gonna hang out."
Well, I
So,
don't hype. I'm being honest. I have so much respect for you, and I your talent just astonishes me. You're so good at what you do. So go ahead.
well, that's very
I'm not
kind.
going to stop
Is
until you
my
start your story.
All right? So there I was, doing business. We live in a society that tends to promote performance, which is the exact opposite of what I do. As a coach, I help people separate the performer from their performance. You're not your performance, you are the performer. Okay? So those two separate things. However, we live in a society that often highlights all of the performance, all about performance, performance, performance. You have to deliver, you have to show up, you have to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. If you can't do it alone, then you can't do it. So there's this swell to isolate and do it on your own and not ask for help. And there's this myth that asking for help is a sign of weakness and incapability or some kind of inadequacy. And I would say that that is wrong
Mm,
and that we need a team, that nobody succeeds alone. No solopreneur succeeds alone. The only way I was able to deliver more than 5,000 performances as a solo performer was because of my team. I
mm,
had help. I think as entrepreneurs, we need our own team. I highlight four different positions in the book. The Habit 26 Fellowship is all about four positions. We need a mentor, cheerleader, giver, and connector. Ideally, more than one. Mentors, cheerleaders, givers, and connectors. We need these people. And I'm going to highlight why. For example, when COVID came along and erased my entire income overnight, and my wife wasn't working at the time, and I was in the middle of transitioning on my team members, I found myself in a spot I never thought I would be in. Like, I'm incredibly diversified. I speak to kids, adults, mixed audiences. I'm doing shows, I'm doing keynotes. I've got an incredibly diverse spread, except for the fact that it's all large groups
mm,
coming together. And so it's all gone. There's no end in sight. I mean, everybody's familiar with the COVID story.
mm.
And yet my bills loved me. My bills stayed loyal and true.
As
And
they
so I
do.
thought, well, how the heck am I gonna how am I gonna do this? And I found myself isolated and alone because the people that were on my team were no longer on my team. They had all transitioned off. And so in that isolation, I forgot there were three things at play. It was my compass, which is what I coach on, my mindset, and my team. My team was gone. And when the team was gone, I lost my compass. And we'll
Mm,
paraphrase that today by saying I forgot what my worth was and where it came from,
mm,
which is really big. And I forgot what my guiding values were. And so without the compass to point to true north, I didn't know which direction to go in.
mm,
And without knowing when things were going to change and feeling the weight of all the responsibility, my mindset shifted. And our mindset shifts all the time. A mindset is not a switch to be flipped and forgotten about. It takes consistency. So my mindset dropped. There was no team to help me out, and there was no compass to go back to for guidance. So I'm like wallowing in my stuff for a long time. And it wasn't until this guy came on my team and challenged my mindset that things started to shift. And I realized, oh, wait, this guy, David, is right. I can shift my mindset. As my mindset shifted, I refound, found, discovered,
discovered? Man, no. Yeah. Rediscovered?
reclaimed.
Reclaimed? Okay. I like reclaimed.
I
I
got
like
my
it.
compass back.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is my worth. This is where it comes from. Oh, yeah, these are my guiding values of courage, belonging, excellence, and hope. Oh, yeah, I am here to empower and encourage others by teaching anyone who wants to learn and set the example. Oh, yeah, this is me. And here's my mindset. Oh, wait a minute, I only have one person on my team. And let's get really intentional about building my team this time so that I don't find myself in a spot where I'm isolated again." So I
Mm,
got very specific about that, built found really good mentors, really good cheerleaders, and the connectors and the givers. That
Mm,
allowed me to get back faster. If I had that team in place before COVID, I'm convinced I would not have been down in the muck as long.
mm,
Similarly, when my wife got diagnosed with breast cancer in 22, I hired a coach just for the month when she had her surgery, because I
mhm,
thought I need to make sure that I am on top of my game for my wife, for my kids, and for my business, right? So I brought in another mentor. And after we got through April, she was doing okay, I'm doing okay, everybody else is doing okay. So what did I do, Sandy?
yeah.
I let my mentor go. I let the coach go. And by mid-June, she was now into her chemo, and I was not doing good. Was
Mm,
not doing good. I did not have my team. I wasn't leaning into my team. My mindset was shifting. As my mindset was shifting, I was starting to lose sight of my compass again. And then my 13-year-old boy did something I never thought. It was the most amazing thing. We were having dinner and
oh,
I almost lost it. I crushed a bunch of chips with my hand. It felt so good. I was I was wanting connection with my wife and my son. I wasn't getting it. My wife is fighting for her life. My son is being a 13-year-old boy. And I asked him a question. He gave me a 13-year-old boy answer. It really just so I just grabbed chips and I just crushed them and it felt so great in the moment. The texture, the sound, the release, everything. My wife is like, "Do you need to go out?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine." Crunching chips. And then my 13-year-old says, "Dad, you want to go check on the cats?" Because he had been volunteering at this cat cafe. The woman that owns it also takes in all these foster cats or these stray cats and gets them ready for adoption. So I'm like, "No, but I want connection." So yeah. So we go check on the cats. And like textbook, we play with the cats for 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes. And then my son asks me, "Dad, are you stressed?"
mm,
"Yes, son." "What's got you stressed, Dad?" "Well, 13-year-old, here are all the things appropriately that are on my mind." "Okay, well, do you have a plan?" Like, well, I had a plan and then I let the plan go. Okay, but I'm going to get a plan again. I'm going to bring it back. And then he finishes with, "Well, what are you doing for you?"
oh my
Like,
gosh.
those kinds of questions come from our team.
Mhm,
Nobody is immune. Everybody's going to have a mindset shift at some point. Everybody is going to face a challenge, an unexpected circumstance, some type of uncertainty, some type of chaos. We cannot thrive and stand in the middle of that storm if we are by ourselves.
mm,
We need team to hold us accountable. We need mentors that are going to challenge us and disrupt things for growth and that are going to engage because they love and care about us, that they believe in us, right? So they're going to ask those questions. We need the cheerleaders that can provide support, genuine, sincere support and encouragement when we need it, because we're going to need it. We need those connectors that introduce us to people and opportunities we didn't know we needed to know. And we
mhm,
need those givers that are going to equip us with the resources we need so we can
mm,
show up and be our best self. We need all four of those. And of those four, the mentors and the cheerleaders are the most important. So
mm.
if you're going to ask me to do what I don't want to do and give advice, I would say we need to get a team. You need a team so that you can stay on point and deliver your peak performance. You need mentors, cheerleaders, givers, and connectors. And after you get your team together, hold this concept in your mind. Your team is not going to stay the same forever.
Mm,
Sometimes a teammate will be on for a season and then they'll get traded away and then they'll come back. Sometimes they'll play their whole career just for your team and then retire as the most amazing catcher. Sometimes they'll play for 10 seasons and then they'll go away and you'll get really upset with them, but then they'll come back for an amazing final season and you'll love them again, right?
mhm,
It's not about the longevity on the team. It's just that you have the team. So be aware of who's on, who's off, so that all the spots are filled. And I would encourage you, especially for the mentors and cheerleaders, to look for somebody that is not related to you or not related or affected by your effort or your results. So if they're not dependent on you bringing in the cash, or they're not dependent on this or that, you are less likely to discount their feedback and perspective. I'm not saying that it's okay to have a spouse as a cheerleader or as a mentor. I would just encourage you to get someone outside of your circle so that you can hear that feedback and you're not so quick to dismiss it.
Mm. That so okay, you say you don't like to give advice. It's not what you do, and I understand. However, this is the most amazing advice because we rarely give that kind of advice to ourselves. Like when we if we're trying to solve and reflect and say, what should I do? And if you're in your own head, that's really the last place you go, And I shared
Yeah.
with you before we started that the common theme, and now we're 4 for 4, that having a coach and a mentor in your life is so important. And everyone that I've talked to, um, up until you said that they waited too long. And I did too. I never had my first coach until 20 years in business. And I
Mhm.
needed it at 20 years in business to make it to 25. And if I'd have done it earlier, I probably have a whole different situation, in business on my
Yeah.
hands. So it is just such important advice.
You
And
don't you don't know what you don't know.
yeah,
And you don't even know what you don't even know.
yeah,
It's a crazy spot to be. So
it
to get a
is.
coach that doesn't have the same blind spots, that doesn't have the same life perspective, life experience,
Mhm.
you're right. It is a total game changer. And I just want to add one other thing to this, because it's easy to think, oh yeah, you need a team at work, but the team I'm talking about is your team,
Mhm.
like your personal team, to hold you up as a human being. It's
Mhm.
not so much your board of directors for your business. It's not so much your team of vendors and partners and referral. Like it's not that. This is for you,
Mhm.
the human being. If you've got that, then you can show up over here. And and I would totally agree with your other guests. I didn't get my coach until 2012. And if I had met a coach 15 years earlier, that would have saved me so much heartache. That would have brought me further, faster. And yeah, yep,
Yeah.
I cannot stress that enough. And to not only get a coach, but get a coach that has coaches.
Yes. I don't think you can be a coach without having a coach. I really don't. Yeah.
Well, you can if you're
Well,
focused on profit.
but man, coaches challenge us and they ask the deeper questions. They probe and they empower you to discover, the strength within.
They do.
So you just, yeah, I'm a
The good
proponent of,
one will do that with curiosity and no judgment.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. In fact, you laughed, and now it's kind of coming full circle for me when we were having a conversation at the Tom Hill mastermind that you came and spoke at for me. And I had said something, and you called me out on,
Mhm.
judging myself, and I made a comment. I'm like, yeah, the judge can leave the room right now, and you just started laughing. And my coach actually does that to me when I say something like I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. She's like, well, that judge can just get up and walk right out of the room right now because we don't need it here.
I will laugh again. I'm
Yeah,
laughing because that is so relatable, and that internal dialogue
yeah,
can make or break us. I
yeah,
love that your coach does that
yeah.
for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, thank you for your time. And I'm going to say it one more time. Everything that comes out of your mouth is pure gold, at least when you're talking to me.
Well, we have a good fit. I
You
think it's about the fit.
you are such a humble man, but you are so inspiring. You just are so authentic and caring. And I remember the very first time I met you in person, just to share a story with the audience. You were coming to speak at an event I was putting on for the Tom Hill group, and it was the day prior to come and check out the tech and the stage and all of that stuff. And I was stressed because my phone was ringing off the hook, and people are like, "Well, I can't come at this time. I'm going to come at
That's
this
right.
time." And it was just all the stuff. And
Yeah.
you walked in the room, and I, I I believe you saw it, even though I didn't say it. And the first thing you said to me was, "What can I do to help you?" And I just stopped, and it just made me think, man, first of all, this must be written all over my face because I try not to
Oh,
project that.
no. Right? The judge kicks up. The
I
judge
know.
steps up.
I know. But then my first impression was just like, what a genuinely authentic, kind human that's standing right here right now. And what a blessing it is to know you and have the opportunity to do some work with you. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. My coach and mentor told me you will never overestimate the amount of pain somebody else is in.
Mm,
And unfortunately, I found that to be true.
mhm,
So I feel like as long as I've got breath in my lungs and I'm here, I feel like my job is to empower and encourage others. And if everybody's going through a whole lot of stuff, then how can we help lighten the load? That's
mhm,
the goal. So
mhm.
thanks for
So
letting me walk that out.
if anyone in the audience wants to reach out to you or find you, where do you want to send them?
coreauthenticity.com, and I'm definitely active on LinkedIn. So please connect with me there, and check out the website for all kinds of amazing stuff like keynotes and coaching and the academy. And of course, I would be remiss to add, you can buy my book.
The blueprint for value, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Because isn't that what your coach told you? Like you got to have something on your website you can buy right there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep. There you
there it
go.
is.
Blueprint for value. Go get it. Available on Amazon and anywhere you buy books.
Exactly.
And Jeff's website too, coreauthenticity.com.
Thanks, Sandy. I appreciate that.
Okay, Jeff. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Go team.